That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, so let's go through. Let's talk about some very, very, very cheap running backs here. Now, the reason we're talking about this is we had it requested over there on Patreon. Now, if you have not had the chance and you're a part of the Patreon community, please run over to a post that we put up a couple days ago. We've been posting so much on Patreon. You're going to have to scroll a little bit. It'll be titled Dynasty Video Ideas. And if you have not already, comment what video you would like me to make next, because I'm just going through in this entire week. We have a long list of ideas. I'm going to be knocking those out one by one. Not going to be able to get to all of them, of course, but we're trying to get to the best ideas. And I love this one. And now, don't think I'm going to be telling you to go trade for J.K. Dobbins. Don't think I'm going to be going and telling you to trade for Travis Etienne. I'm not telling you to buy low on these running backs. I'm telling you to pick up these running backs for absolutely free, because some of these players are going to be available on your waiver wire. Now, of course, if you're playing in a regular Dynasty Fantasy Football League, if you're playing in a league that you should be, that has 12 teams, 25 roster spots, 10 taxi squad spots, and every team is essentially rostering 30 players, then no, these guys aren't going to be available to you, but you can still trade for them at a massive discount, and I'll be talking about how to do that at the end of the video. But before we do that, please make sure you go drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and of course, go consider joining the flock on Patreon. When you sign up to join the flock on Patreon, you get an in-depth podcast breaking down your Dynasty team. You have access to our Dynasty Fantasy Football Superflex rankings. I believe we have the top 150 players or so ranked if I add all those guys up in my mind really quick. And also, you get into Dynasty leagues with us over there on Patreon. We're already running like 21 Dynasty leagues. They're going to have a ton of openings very soon. We're going to be getting a ton of more leagues going as well this offseason. And of course, you get... I can shut up. You get everything over there on Patreon. Let's go into this video. Let's start it off with the running back that I wasn't a fan of in his rookie class. Let's go over to Eno Benjamin. Now, with Eno Benjamin, the reason I didn't love him in that 2020 draft class was very simple. The draft capital. Now, if you're looking at the draft capital, he went in the 7th round of that 2020 class. And he was going in a pretty respectable range in Dynasty rookie drafts, but you have to understand why that was happening. With Eno Benjamin back in 2019, the year before he went to the NFL draft, this was a running back that so many people were looking at and just drooling. This was someone that the Devy Dynasty Fantasy Football community loved, and a lot of people thought he was going to be one of the top running backs in that 2020 draft class, even though, of course, that sounds so funny to say now in a class that had guys like Cam Akers and Jonathan Taylor in it. But it's understandable, because if you're looking at that 2018 season, he had 300 carries at Arizona State. Keep in mind, this was also the year that N'Keal Harry had his true junior season, and at this time, a lot of people thought N'Keal Harry was going to be a great receiver. Now, he had 300 rushing attempts through 13 games, over 1,600 rushing yards. And what was most impressive about Eno Benjamin is he was a great receiving running back. He had 35 receptions, and that offense that we already mentioned had N'Keal Harry in it and also had Brandon Ayuk. Here you're looking at Eno Benjamin, and this production profile was very impressive. So a lot of people in the Devy Dynasty Fantasy Football community liked him. He goes in the 7th round, so he's off my draft board. We're saying if someone falls to the 7th round at the running back position, unless they have some off-the-field concerns that made them fall that far, I don't really care about them in Dynasty. However, now Eno Benjamin's value is nothing of what it once was. Let me see Eno Benjamin's official stat line with what he has had so far his NFL career, because it's been pretty much nothing. Now, the reason I'm hopping on the Eno Benjamin bandwagon now, when he only has 34 rush attempts so far his NFL career, for a whopping 3.5 yards per carry, is because the situation he finds himself in this offseason. Now, of course, it is not a guarantee that you have both James Conner and Chase Edmonds leaving Arizona. Of course, it's not a guarantee, but both running backs right now are slated to be free agents this offseason. We just saw that the Arizona Cardinals an offseason ago allowed Kenyon Drake to go sign with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders paid Drake $11 million guaranteed. I'm pretty sure the Arizona Cardinals made a great decision to instead bring in a running back like James Conner on a 1-year prove-it deal for about $1.5 million. Now, I can guarantee you that James Conner is going to be commanding a larger contract this offseason. Now, whether or not the Arizona Cardinals are going to pay him that, especially when they're about to have to get off that Kyler Murray rookie contract and give him his own massive extension, that is up in the air for this time being. Now, I would say that even if they don't bring back James Conner, even if they don't bring back Chase Edmonds, they're 100% going to add someone to this backfield. I would imagine that they probably end up signing one of James Conner, Chase Edmonds, and then we actually get this upcoming season, Eno Benjamin, the running back 2 in this backfield. And that's a great spot to be in, because with Eno Benjamin, this is a running back that in shallower dynasty fantasy football leagues, you will be able to go to the waiver wire and you will be able to pick him up. And if we're talking about a running back that's an injury away in one of the most productive offenses in the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals, and we have seen Eno Benjamin before, at least in college. Now, I know it was a very long time ago, but still, we've seen his profile before be able to handle a 3-down bell cow workload and at the same time get some involvement in the receiving game. So I just think that based on the situation with the depth chart in the offense that he plays in, when he is the only running back left to guaranteed money this upcoming season, Eno Benjamin, probably a good pickup. Now, our next running back, a very similar scenario. Another running back that I did not like whatsoever in that same exact draft class, Keyshawn Vaughn. Now, Keyshawn Vaughn, if y'all remember, I mean, it was laughable where people were pushing him up to in dynasty rookie drafts. Now, one of the major reasons I was going through and looking to avoid is he got drafted and he was older than Ronald Jones already to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was kind of funny. We were going through and we were betting on Ronald Jones over Keyshawn Vaughn. Now, keep in mind, this is before you end up getting Leonard Fournette signing there. And I know Keyshawn Vaughn's actually someone that possibly could have been on your waiver wire a few weeks ago. I really wish we would have made this video back then, but obviously, I mean, you had the injury to Leonard Fournette. You also had Ronald Jones missing the last week as well. So you actually had Keyshawn Vaughn coming out and looking pretty bad on the football field for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's really never been a very talented running back. I mean, going all the way back to Vanderbilt, this was someone that definitely got overdrafted in that 2020 draft class, who went at the early third, and a lot of people took him at the end of the first, at the beginning of the second in 2020 12-team Dynasty Superflex rookie drafts. At this point, I think it's actually a decent idea to go through and look to buy him, because if we are going over and looking at the depth chart for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the same time. Now, of course, I'm not saying that they're going to let all these running backs go, but with this level of uncertainty, it's worth a shot. Keyshawn Vaughn, I know if you're playing in a 10-team Dynasty Superflex league, there's a decent chance he's on your waiver wire. It's a running back that's going into year 3. And let's go through the depth chart for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. You got Leonard Fournette, obviously the starting bell cow running back. He's going to be a free agent this offseason. Then you got Ronald Jones. I mean, a running back that so many years ago we were betting on over Keyshawn Vaughn. We were taking the discount with Rojo. While yes, he's still very young. While yes, Ronald Jones has flashed on some occasions, he's a free agent. We don't know if Tampa's going to bring him back. Bruce Arians has never shown, an affinity for Ronald Jones. And also Giovanni Bernard, the running back that this team went out and signed to be in that Keyshawn Vaughn role after Keyshawn Vaughn failed his rookie season this last offseason. Now Giovanni Bernard, that contract also is expiring. So you're looking at a running back room that went of 4 guys. So now Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be the last guy standing in Tampa. Now, of course, like we said, it's not like Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be the starting running back going into 2022 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Keyshawn Vaughn, that would never happen, as he's looked very bad. This coaching staff, the general manager in Tampa, they would literally, I would imagine the general manager would get fired the second week 1 kicked off if Keyshawn Vaughn was out there next to Tom Brady taking starting reps. That's not happening. But what could potentially happen is Giovanni Bernard, really old, couldn't stay healthy this year. Gio's out of Tampa. I think we can all assume that. Then you could see this team faced with the decision. We either bring back Leonard Fournette, pay him a premium despite him being drafted in 2017 and being a little bit on the older side, or we go through and sign Ronald Jones to a discount and let Leonard Fournette walk. I would imagine what ends up happening is I'd imagine they end up signing Leonard Fournette, let Ronald Jones walk, and then all of a sudden, Keyshawn Vaughn, very similar to what we were just discussing with Eno Benjamin. While I didn't like either one of these running backs in that 2020 draft class, they may be in really strong situations this upcoming season if they are going to be the primary handcuff running backs on one of the most productive offenses in the NFL, whether that's Arizona, whether that's Tampa. They're very similar running backs at this point. Neither of them are extremely talented, but you don't have to be extremely talented to be able to go through and produce elite levels in fantasy football. I mean, we saw it this season with so many running backs just being cycled through, whether that's Dearness Johnson, Keel Herbert. Some of these running backs will be getting to the end of the video. I mean, as long as you get the opportunity in offense that will have production, you can be productive in fantasy. So I'm actually going to be going through and trying to pick up Keyshawn Vaughn and Eno Benjamin for free this offseason. And now our next running back, someone that I also did not like in rookie drafts last year, and I thought we were going to be taking a massive L at the beginning of the season because he looked really strong, Kenneth Gainwell. Now with Kenneth Gainwell, he's definitely going to cost a lot more than either one of these running backs. Trust me, I understand that Kenneth Gainwell is not going to be on a single waiver wire. He wasn't really on waiver wires in redraft formats until you got to about week 8. But if you're looking at Kenneth Gainwell, the depth chart isn't going to be as open as what you would have in Tampa or as what you would have in Arizona. However, you do have some running backs leaving this situation. Now, let's kind of discuss a little bit with Kenneth Gainwell just what you had this season. And you had a running back that looked impressive. I mean, he only had 68 carries, but with those 60 carries, I mean, he did average over 4 rushing yards per carry. He also had 5 touchdowns off those 68 carries, which of course is extremely volatile. But I mean, he definitely showed a great ability in the receiving game. This is what you love to see with Kenneth Gainwell, especially with one running back in particular leaving Philadelphia this upcoming season, because you will have Boston Scott most likely out of Philly. Boston Scott, I mean, will be a free agent this offseason. Jordan Howard also will be a free agent this offseason. So you're only being left with Miles Sanders in this backfield alongside Kenneth Gainwell. Now, Miles Sanders coming out of Penn State, I wanted to believe that he was going to be some great receiving down running back. However, at the beginning of the season, we actually saw that this coaching staff preferred to use Miles Sanders in the first and second down grinder role. And they actually wanted to go through and get Kenneth Gainwell involved early as a receiver. I mean, to look at these game logs through the first half of the season: 3, 3, 4, 8, 3, 2, 8 targets. So a running back that, if my simple monkey brain allows me to do some math here, he's averaging 4 or 5 targets a week as a rookie. And then you're also removing another pass catching running back off this offense with Boston Scott. Now, one thing that I will point out is this is a team that will have some things changing beyond this. You have a ton of draft capital for the Philadelphia Eagles here. I believe they have 3 first-round picks this season. Of course, that's not going to be ideal for Philadelphia to go through and just completely avoid adding in another skill positional player, whether that's a great slot wide receiver to be able to run routes closer to the line of scrimmage that would take targets away from the satellite running back in Philadelphia. But also, I actually want to say that if Jalen Hurts were to get replaced, and of course, at this point, Jalen Hurts looks like he's the favorite to be the quarterback for Philadelphia this upcoming season. Y'all know I love Jalen Hurts in the 2020 draft class based off his rushing upside. At the end of the day, he was selected in the second round. At the end of the day, this team does have 3 first-round picks, unless I'm mistaken. Hopefully, I'm correct in that. So I think there is an outside chance that this team goes through and possibly invest into a pocket passing option. And we have seen before that those pocket passing options are going to be willing to check the ball down to the running back side of the backfield at a higher clip. So if anything, that could potentially be a good thing for Kenneth Gainwell. So Gainwell, I know he's going to be more expensive. You're definitely going to have to go through and trade something for him. I think he would also be a running back that I'm potentially going out there and just putting some feelers out. And now our next guy is going to be Trey Sermon. Now, I want to be 100% honest here. One mistake that I used to have, and it was a really bad mistake back in especially 2014, 2015 in Dynasty Fantasy Football, is I would always be the guy going through and saying, oh, this rookie failed year 1. He's a rookie. Let me buy him low. Let me buy him low. Let me buy him low. I mean, this is something that took me forever to figure out. I mean, even going into just say the 2018 season is the perfect example of this. And I know y'all probably have heard me talk about this a lot. I don't care. I'm going to talk about it again because it's such a great example of some of my faults with my previous Dynasty decisions. Is if y'all remember in 2018, there was a very similar situation to what you have in San Francisco right now, where you had the rookie that had no level of team investment whatsoever come out and produce and look extremely impressive in Phillip Lindsay in Denver. Now that's Elijah Mitchell in San Francisco this season. And then you had the running back that was a much better prospect that had the team investment that went in the 3rd round. You had Royce Freeman. I will say Royce Freeman was definitely a better prospect than Trey Sermon as well coming out of Oregon, but nonetheless, you had Royce Freeman failing in Denver that season, and you had Trey Sermon failing in San Francisco this year. And I was the guy back in 2018 to say, sell high, and we were screaming to sell high on Phillip Lindsay. And at the same time, we were gobbling up as much Royce Freeman as we possibly could, just assuming that he was the more talented player because that's what we thought the offseason before. And we weren't willing to look at the new information that we had out in front of us, and we weren't willing to make adjustments. Well, not only have we gotten better in being able to react to what we just had their rookie seasons and to be able to be a little more flexible with our previous evaluations, but so has the Dynasty Fantasy Football community. Because if you're looking right now at the Trey Sermon value, this is a running back that, I mean, at this point, you could get for legitimately nothing. If you're going into a Dynasty Superflex startup right now, just look at those mock drafts that we're doing. We're going 15 rounds through. Trey Sermon's not even getting close to being drafted. This is a running back that holds absolutely no value. That is just a pure throw-in and a deal. And I think it could be an intriguing spot to go buy low on because with San Francisco, they don't have a ton of assets this upcoming season. Obviously, they went through and they traded a significant amount to secure Trey Lance for the future here. And they are not going to have that much flexibility if they want to go and get a premium luxury position in investing into the running back spot. I'd be very surprised if this is a team that goes out there and signs Leonard Fournette. So I'd imagine that what they have at the running back position is going to be similar to what they have this upcoming season. And if you're looking at the depth chart, I mean, yes, they have Elijah Mitchell, but another issue with Trey Sermon and why he is, I mean, at this point, worth significantly less than Royce Freeman was going into his second season is at least Royce Freeman was able to get on the field. Trey Sermon simply was not able to get on the field with Kyle Shanahan here. He played Jeff Wilson and JaMychal Hasty over him. Well, both Jeff Wilson and JaMychal Hasty are free agents this upcoming season, so there's an outside chance that just inherently you do have Trey Sermon moving up the depth chart past those two guys because if they leave San Francisco, obviously it's going to be a great spot for Trey Sermon. Elijah Mitchell was a running back that dealt with a multitude of injuries his rookie season. He is a little bit more of a slight running back that we haven't necessarily seen be able to just be durable enough to have that 3-down workload over a long duration. So possibly, just possibly, Trey Sermon is going to be one injury away from being the starting running back in San Francisco. Now, keep in mind, I want to be hesitant when I tell you all this because there's a big difference in being Royce Freeman 2018 and being the lesser running back in a committee with Phillip Lindsay and disappointing everybody who drafted him and not being able to get on the field and getting outplayed by JaMychal Hasty. So here with Trey Sermon, I don't necessarily want to tell people to go through and trade for whatever you can for him. No, that's not going to be the play with any of these running backs. Talking about some strategy and what you're going to be doing with these RBs is if you've ever noticed, if you go to an owner and you want to acquire a running back that's in the tier of someone like Kenneth Gainwell, in the tier of someone like Keyshawn Vaughn, if you approach that owner and you just message them through Discord, message them through Sleeper, wherever you're playing, hey man, what do you want for Keyshawn Vaughn? I'll give you something real small for him. That owner all of a sudden is going to be, why would I trade you Keyshawn Vaughn? I'm not trading Keyshawn Vaughn for the 311. Like that's wasting my time. I don't know why you want Vaughn. And then they're actually going to look into Keyshawn Vaughn and possibly realize, oh crap. I mean, this is a running back that, I mean, is the only guy signed to Tampa this upcoming offseason. And then they're naturally going to just go through and raise the price on you, whether it's fair or not. Now, I know it sounds stupid, but I promise you, I mean, I have literally spent since 2014, every single day of my life essentially has been making Dynasty Fantasy Football trades. And I can promise you, you are not going to have success if you go and try to approach an owner and ask for Kenneth Gainwell. If you try to ask for Trey Sermon, if you try to ask for Eno Benjamin, if you try to ask for Keyshawn Vaughn straight up, I promise you, they're going to make you overpay and you're really not going to get a deal done that makes sense for both parties. Instead, the play is to just go through, construct a slightly bigger deal. Say y'all each have a couple wide receivers you're wanting to make a pivot off of. If you were to go through and say, Hell, I have Rashad Bateman. They have Chase Claypool. If you're looking at our dynasty rankings, Chase Claypool and Rashad Bateman are ranked back-to-back. And of course, this isn't about my dynasty rankings. You can find those on Patreon, of course, but it's about your own dynasty value. So if I were you, I would go through and try to look at players that you have almost identical in value that you wouldn't mind making a swap for in terms of just going receiver for receiver. It's a lot easier to do the receiver position than it would be running back, and possibly swapping Chase Claypool for Rashad Bateman, and on their end of the deal, also throwing in someone like Eno Benjamin. And that will at least create a conversation. And they're going, okay, well, I kind of like this deal. I don't see why I'm giving Eno Benjamin up for it. They maybe message you back. Hell, I don't really know why I am trading Eno Benjamin in this. These players are fair deal. I will go through and I'll trade for Chase Claypool, though. And you say, oh, can I just throw in the 311? It's like the Trojan horse. It's the Trojan horse. Just get a player picked up for absolutely free. And of course, you could try to go the other way around. Just personally, maybe it's because people don't want to trade with me, but I haven't had much success in that. I think it's easier to make that lateral swap and then just get the throw in added in. But please let me know what y'all think. Please go down to the comment section. Let me know how stupid I am. Drop a like on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. I think this should be it. I hope we get to see you out with the video tomorrow, and I hope that you have a great day.